Hey everyone! Today, I want to tell you about a recent study that discovered the first biological color. Now, this might sound, how should I say, unimportant? It's one of those things that seems trivial. Except when you dig into the details, you start to realize that this seemingly trivial thing had planet-spanning implications for the evolution of all complex life, and even implications for the rate of emergence and abundance of complex life throughout the universe. Researchers at the ANU, the Australian National University, conducted a study on molecular fossils extracted from a rock buried in the Sahara Desert. These fossils were extracted and chemically processed so as to remove the permineralized bone and leave behind an organic oil. This oil contains the earliest pigment ever evolved, which makes it the first biological color to appear on Earth. If you were wondering, it's pink. So what are the implications of this? Associate Professor of Earth Science Johan Brox said, quote, "The pigments tell us that we are probably lacking food. These pink pigments, their exact structure and composition, tells us there was an efficient energy food source missing at the base of the food web." Unquote. Their scientific paper, published in the Proceedings for the National Academy of Sciences, explained this phenomenon in more detail. Quote, "The oceans of Earth's Middle Age, 1.8 to 0.8 billion years ago, were devoid of animal-like life. According to one hypothesis, the emergence of large, active organisms was restrained by the limited supply of large food particles, such as algae. Through the discovery of molecular fossils of the photopigment chlorophyll in 1.1 billion-year-old marine sedimentary rock, we were able to quantify the abundance of different phototrophs. The nitrogen isotopic values of the fossil pigments showed that the oceans were dominated by cyanobacteria, while larger planktonic algae were scarce. This supports the hypothesis that small cells at the base of the food chain limited the flow of energy to higher trophic levels, potentially retarding the emergence of large and complex life." Unquote. So to summarize, the abundance of tiny little cyanobacteria meant that chemical energy was relatively dispersed in the Earth's primordial oceans. It was difficult to evolve larger, more complex bodies when all of the necessary chemical energy was spread out over this huge oceanic volume, and it took a lot of energy to get to the next little cyanobacteria. But when larger cells emerged, like algal cells, these represented a sufficiently dense concentration of chemical energy. When these were consumed by a predatory microbe or group of microbes, the energy yield would have been relatively high compared to cyanobacteria, and it provided the raw fuel for growth, which then leads to more intensive replication and mutations and evolution, which leads to larger, more complex bodies and the emergence of macroscopic animal life. Can you kind of see where I'm going with this? We often look out into the night sky, and we think about all of the planets out there that might be similar to the early Earth. We hypothesize that these potential life-bearing worlds would have to be somewhat similar to ours, and would go through roughly similar processes for the emergence and the evolution of life. However, this study suggests that complex life on our planet perhaps got off to a slow start, due to several 100 million years of there just not being enough available chemical energy. The natural question is then, if the requisite chemical energy is available from day one, how long would it take simple microbial life to evolve multicellularity? How long would it take for macroscopic animals to emerge? Presumably, it would happen a lot faster than it did on Earth. And if this is the case, then it's plausible that a freshly formed planet could experience abiogenesis and then produce a biodiverse lineage of macroscopic organisms in a relatively quick time frame. This is, of course, assuming the initial energy resources aren't too widely dispersed, as appears to have been the case with Earth. It seems that once early life hits this threshold of energy density, then things really take off. And so, if another planet had life, and for whatever reason that life was able to hit that threshold faster, well, that planet could have a relative head start on us as far as the development of complex life goes by hundreds and hundreds of millions of years.